By the middle of the week, we should see a significant blizzard impact the Midwest, where we could see the millibar pressure of this low pressure system drop down to 996 millibars, which shows that this storm is relatively powerful and has a potential of bringing strong winds and heavy snow to the northern portion of the Midwest. But eventually, this snowstorm should set the stage for a significant snowstorm to develop in the Northeast as a result of the abundance of cold air that's behind this storm. If I were to continue to move forward, you see that this low pressure system will eventually move northeastward, and that will set the stage for this next snowstorm to develop. We do see cooler than average temperatures throughout the upper portion of the Midwest, and we do see that although the primary low pressure system has moved further to the northeast of the United States, we still do see that on the backside we should see some thunder showers develop along the east coast, and as a result of the abundance of cold air that's going to be just to the west of the thunder shower activity, we're going to see the potential of a low pressure system to develop, and as a result of this overlap between this cold air associated with this ridge as well as this moisture associated with this low, we could potentially see a significant snowstorm for the Northeast, where the GFS model does depict heavier snow showers to develop associated with this low pressure system. This is around Friday, January 6th, so this should approach you guys by the weekend if this were to develop, but there's still uncertainty. It really all depends on how much moisture will overlap with the cooler air mass that's going to be located in the Midwest. We're going to really need to see if we're going to see just enough of a northwesterly flow in the Northeast to lock that cold air in place for the moisture to overlap and to see a significant snowstorm for Northeast. But we do see many areas like Boston, Hartford by the January 6th timeframe, as well as New York City could get involved with some snowfall. Upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine gets involved with snowfall in this scenario, as a GFS model is very confident that by the weekend of January 6th and 7th, we should see a significant snowstorm in the Northeast, thanks to the fact that we're going to see just enough moisture and stability associated with this cold air and a ridge that's going to be locked in place to bring just enough cold air for that moisture to fall in the form of snowfall. So that's something to pay close attention to, but the European model takes a very different scenario. While the European model does agree that there's going to be a significant Midwest snowstorm that should move through by the new year, it still has some disagreements with the GFS model in that it wants to take this storm a little bit further southward, and that would prevent the possibility of a significant snowstorm to develop in the Northeast, because the low pressure system will be located right over the Northeast rather than well further to the north. So it's unlikely that the Northeast would experience the backside of this low pressure system or the thunder showers that are located on the south side. And since the lower bands associated with this low pressure system are well further to the south, it won't be able to encounter that cold air to create that overlap, enough of an overlap between this moisture and of course the cooler than average temperatures to create the possibility of a significant snowstorm to develop in the Northeast. If I were to continue to move forward, we do see some snow in the interior portions of the Northeast by January 5th, where we do see that Maine, the upper portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, and upstate New York do experience snowfall, and we even do see some lake effect snow along the Great Lakes right around Buffalo and the higher elevations of Pennsylvania. But we do see that this snowstorm isn't forecasted to be as significant based on the latest run of the European model. So there's still uncertainty with the forecast. Again, it really all depends on how much moisture will overlap between associated with this low pressure system, as well as the cold air that's going to be just to the north of this low pressure system. We see that the European model wants to take a track further southward, which means that the southern thunder showers won't be able to really encounter that cold air for a significant snowstorm to develop. And as for the moisture associated with the low pressure system itself, the thing is that the air surrounding this low pressure system will be a little bit too warm for the cold air to be able to be strong enough to create that possibility of a large snowstorm threat for the Northeast. So that's something to keep in mind. And we're going to need to pay close attention to how these two computer models change over the next several days. Going to need to determine where exactly that low pressure system will be located. Taking a look at what the GFS model forecasts when it comes to snowfall, if this scenario were to come for fruition, we do see that a large portion of the interior Northeast experiences over a foot of snow. This includes upstate New York, the upper portion of Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, all experience over a foot of snow in this scenario. And we do see that Boston is right on the border between experiencing 3 to 6 inches of snow to 6 to 12 inches of snow, as this would be considered a major snowstorm for you guys. And we do see that New York City is also right on the border between experiencing maybe 1 to 3 inches of receiving no snow at all. And Philadelphia is also experiencing maybe around an inch of snow in this scenario, and there's easily that possibility the heaviest snowfall could move further southward depending on how much cold air will be locked in place in the Northeast. Really all depends on how strong the ridging will be as we approach the January 5th to 6th time frame, really determine the amount of cold air that will be located in the Northeast. And we do see that a large portion of the state of Pennsylvania, even further westward, experiences 6 to 12 inches of snow in this scenario. Ohio also gets involved with over 6 inches of snow, and we do see that this snow extends even as far south and west as Kentucky, where some areas in Kentucky, such as Louisville, do experience 3 to 6 inches of snow. So there's definitely something to be aware of over the next several days. Now, taking a look at what the European model is forecasting when it comes to snowfall, we do see that the European model is mainly taking the heaviest snowfall into the extreme northern portions of the interior Northeast, while areas further southward experience no snow at all. In the GFS model scenario, we see that the heaviest snow is more focused in on the southern and middle portion of Pennsylvania and upstate New York, but we do see that the heaviest snow in the European model scenario is a lot further northward, where the heaviest snow is located in the northern portion of Maine. We do see 3 to 6 to 6 to 12 inches in portions of Vermont, as well as the northern portion of New Hampshire. And upstate New York mainly experiences 3 to 6 inches of snow, especially if you're in line where the lake effect snow would typically occur. But outside of that, there isn't much snow going on in the Northeast, so there's still a pretty big disagreement between the two main computer models. And I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days as we begin to get more certainty with the forecast. We're going to need to wait and see which of the two computer models will be the more correct scenario to really give you a more confident forecast regarding the amount of snow you should expect. But really all depends on the position of the solar pressure system as it approaches the Northeast. So here's my forecast when it comes to this next potential major Northeast winter storm. So there's still a high amount of uncertainty, but what I could say for certain is that somewhere in the Northeast, you will likely experience snowfall associated with this trough that's expected to bring heavy snow to the Midwest, as there should be just enough cold air that at least somewhere in the Northeast you should experience snow. Really all depends where exactly. We have the European model leaning more towards the northern, bringing snow to the northern portion of the interior Northeast, while based on what the GFS model is saying, as you see in this depiction, the heaviest snowfall should fall in Pennsylvania, the southern portion of upstate New York, and even the bigger cities like New York City and Boston could get involved with heavy snowfall if the GFS model scenario was correct. So I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days, but this should impact you guys between the weekend of the 5th and the 7th. So you want to at least be aware of this, as there's that possibility pretty big snowstorm could impact the Northeast by the time we approach the new year. So make sure to pay very close attention to that. But thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather related content.